Hello, LinkedIn. Me again. So, thank you very much for this week's late lunch show. What we're going to do is we're just going to wait and see and make sure it actually, actually comes through this week. We had a bit of some technical issues last week. Andrew says it's all to do with LinkedIn. So he's blaming you guys. So the LinkedIn poll is it's all down to you. So I don't know if anybody's watching it. So obviously usually got Alana and Kelsey and Audrey sitting in the office. If you guys could somebody just drop me a wee message, it'll come through my watch to say that it's all working. But I'll just start rabbiting on anyway, whether it's on or it's not on. So last week it seemed to be it was running on YouTube all right, but for some reason LinkedIn didn't want to show it. So hopefully this week LinkedIn's showing it, because I am desperate to introduce you to this week's guest, which is Robert Allen, and that's no name. I thought that was him telling me it's working, but it's not. Robert Allen from JWF. But before we go into Robert, what we've got to do is the same all usual. We start to give a shout out to the people who make all this happen. First big shout out, we'll wait until we go live to give Andrew's shout out, right, to make sure it's working. You hate me, Andrew, didn't you? Right. We'll just talk about, and we'll talk in a wee minute about how much Andrew hates me. We'll give a big shout out to Grow, right? So we've not got any real special messages on or things today. It's just giving it's Grow, nice, right? But give them a look at your cake. So we've got two different varieties here. So don't know. Can you see Robert's here? Look up. That's can show it up a wee bit. There you go. Two big cookie dough thingamajiggies with caramel, and in my box is another one of them and a honeymoon slice. So thank you very much, everyone at Grow again. You outdo yourself every single week, and then, as always, a big shout out to Bold Mango Media for allowing me to stress them out their heads. Right, so are we working? Kane, we're working. Kane's sitting with us. He's took Michael's job today, so we've usually got wee Michael there that puts a thumbs up through the door. So Kane's doing that today. So going to introduce you to the man to my right here, Robert. Right, so Robert and I, well, it's been that must be it's about over a year now. We've met about a year. A year we met, and we actually met through when we had started our KTP process, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. And when we were talking about what we were going to do in our KTP, somebody said, do you know JWF? Because they had done something similar. Yeah. So yeah, met each other, found out very quickly that we were quite aligned in what we were trying to do as our businesses. You were probably a bit further down the road than we were, but we've seen real synergies there. So we then started talking, and then there you go. Look, you're on the LinkedIn Live show. How good's that?
Jamie doesn't stop phoning.
Right, Robert, you coming on. So let you introduce JWF, what you do, a wee bit about that, and then obviously this show's all about us telling businesses things that we think could be beneficial for them. And I really, really think that the approach that you've got in your business can be beneficial to anybody in the manufacturing, the water, basically any industry that's get process related workings. Should we say? Right. But tell us about what you do.
So JWF, we've been around since 1962. Sort of started off boiler support, and then we were approached by WICA early 70s about being a distributor for them in the UK. So that sort of continued to now really, but we've been supporting large instrumentation manufacturers, so flow, pressure, temperature, level, analytical equipment since the early 70s, and we kind of pride ourselves, I suppose, being very technical, but we get badged, or years ago we were badged as a box shifter, distributor, partner, whatever you want to call it. So route to market for ABB, WICA, Flexum and the likes in Scotland. So but yeah, probably in the last few years we've looked to change the business and change the business model, hence the KTP a few years back. So and the big change we made was 2019, we acquired a business down in Manchester called Restream Measurement, which then gave us that UK footprint.
Good. And obviously, since then, the business has evolved. One of the things that when we started talking about was the power of data.
Yep.
And that's something that I was really kind of enthused by when I first came into seniors was the amount of data that you are kind
Yeah,
of looking at, right? And
yeah,
also sat and went, wow, because you're now looking at pulling data from lots and lots of different devices, from lots of different applications, and becoming more of that kind of data management side. And that's again back to the synergies with us.
yeah.
That's where we see ourselves going, and that's where I kind of seen your business kind of
Mhm.
sitting.
Yeah.
So what's the kind of things that you take data off of?
I mean, initially, pretty much from a flow measurement point of view, the large manufacturers talk about data, but they talk about data from their own bits of kit. So what we've been trying to do, and we continue to do, is look at any type of technology, really, any flow meter, any pressure transmitter, any temperature, whatever it is, whatever the comms protocol is, we've got a solution to get that to cloud. So off system, get it to cloud, get the data, and then see what we can do with it.
Yeah.
So we are anything. We will get anything to the cloud. That's a challenge we like.
Uh, we're exactly the same, and that's where I thought that the two businesses sat really, really well because we're both doing the same thing,
Yeah.
but from different technologies.
Right.
We're doing it from a kind of condition monitoring, so vibration, temperature, electrical signature analysis, etc., based on the machines, whereas you're doing it based on the process,
Yeah.
the flows, the pressures, all these other things, and that's where the synergy for me it sounded perfect.
Yeah.
Where you're looking at, we've both got data streams that we're both experts in, and putting them together is going to be very hugely valuable to any industry, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, massive. I mean, a lot of, I suppose, once you get the data to cloud, then what can you utilize it for?
Yeah.
The big thing we've had to learn is certainly any of the sales team now or engineers out seeing customers is asking better questions,
Yep.
having more in depth conversations about what outcome that they're after, or what the actual outcome would be, because. It's easy to go out and sell a flow meter, but what are they actually trying to achieve from it? So,
Yep.
and once you've got the data, then it's hugely valuable for the end customer.
Yeah. And the way that we always talk about it is there's hundreds and hundreds of data out there, but it's turning that data into a story that people can make tangible decisions on the back
Yeah,
of is the kind of the value add, because anybody can look at hundreds and hundreds of data, but it's actually turning that into something that one, they know and understand and it's in their language, and two, it gives them enough information that they can make a decision on the back of.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the big thing we've tried to focus away from is, we're not about process control and automation. Systems are there to do that.
Yeah.
So, we for the last 60 odd years, we've been talking to instrumentation people, control instrument people, electrical people, but now we're talking to facilities people, we're talking to sustainability people, energy people, and the like. So
Aye.
there's a whole new customer base for us to talk within customers, within the same customer.
Yeah.
So we're selling a flow meter to one person, but we're talking to data about someone else.
Yeah.
So great.
And we've got exactly the same at the moment. So our strategy going forward isn't really going and bringing in 100 new customers. It's providing a larger offering,
Yeah.
value add proposition to a lot of the customers that we've got. And then what we've got is that we've maybe got customers dealing with one or two sites, but now obviously when you've got access to all this data for them, that then makes it more attractive for all these other sites that they've got, because it's bringing all the data in the same fashion, so as it's then displayed on the same dashboards, and it just makes their life a lot easier.
Yeah. A lot of the work we're doing at the moment seems to be a bit more of a study. So people are looking to extend plant or look at replacing boilers from one technology to another, but they don't actually know what site consumption is.
Right.
So to resize an electric boiler, but they don't know what flow rates they've got. So we're in data to cloud, showing them what they're utilising 24/7, 365 over a 6 month period, say.
Yeah.
And then they can resize that boiler, but at the moment they can't,
Because
so,
you don't know.
So it's just so many different what's the buzz term, use cases that people have got.
Aye, and I think that's really, really interesting that people don't know this stuff, right?
Yep.
Because you just, if you're like, I don't know nothing about boilers, but you'd expect they would know that.
Yeah. Well, it's even some of the distillery work we're doing. You spin up the dashboard and you kind of you've got the layout of how the distillery is using steam as an example, and then so you've got flow, pressure, temperature, and you've got the readings direct live, every minute data's coming in, and the minute distillery people start looking at it, then they're saying, no, that's wrong. No, that's wrong. No, that's wrong. No, it's right. It's your data.
We're not just kidding you on there, mate.
That's how your process is working. It's like, all right, so it's allowing them to make better decision making.
Yeah, 100%. And we get it similar where folk are like, that can't be moving that much. I'm telling you, it is. Right? The data doesn't lie. The data is the data. And you seeing, obviously, we were talking outside before we come in, is about the evolution, right? Because obviously, because your data's kind of getting access to us, data's kind of started when probably.
Well, it was during COVID. Actually, was the sort of big breakthrough. I remember Kenneth and I went to a talk over at Stirling Uni by Bill Ollett about Scotland and companies scaling, and Bill did this whole talk about data, and you have to be in the data game, and we walked out thinking there's no chance. How can we be in data, because we're representing these big companies? It's their product. How can we do it? So it took us a few years to suss it, but COVID, not that we want to talk about COVID, but what it gave us was hospitals needed to understand how they're using oxygen across Scotland and Northern England. So we've got flow measurement across all the hospitals on oxygen.
Brilliant.
Couldn't shut down, but we're able to get ultrasonic devices to measure it accurately. And what that gave us was every morning doctors and nurses were looking at the data to see whether they would have to divert patients. Now,
amazing.
That still runs, but the difference now is they're using it for leakage. They're using it for other reasons, basically. But we've now got, what's that, 4 or 5 years worth of oxygen data. So we've now got contact from NHS Scotland asking us about the data, because say Monkland's new hospital. So the consulting engineers are designing a new oxygen system, and it's designed probably way over capacity because of a what if scenario. But we've got data that can prove what consumption should be.
That's just when you told me first of all about the 2 seconds. Spoke first of all about that whole project. You're like, that's just amazing. I mean, so realistically, so there you go. JWF basically kept people alive during that whole process. Well, kept more people alive than it might have not have done. No, but realistically, because see at that point, I know because I lost 2 of my grandparents during that time, right? And the reason that lost them was because CPAP machines and all these kind of things, that the availability of oxygen, and without that, without you having that data available for them, more people would have lost their lives. I 100% would say that.
You see that a lot. I mean, I'm aware of projects in the dairy industry in Ireland where farmers are getting silos filled up every week, but from a net zero point of view, there's little sensors on the silos to tell them whether they're half full, 3/4 full, or not. So it's there's so many different use cases of just getting that bit of sensor data.
Aye. We see it all the time. Is if you've got data there, then at least you've got something. And we see a lot of companies where they've actually got lots and lots of data, but they don't either have the time, the people, or the skills to look at it and understand it. And that's where we see our role kind of coming in, is we're helping them gather all that data, bring it all together, as you say, getting that data put up to the cloud, processed in a way that it tells them a story that they can look at very quickly and make a decision on the back of. And I don't know if the kind of process related data that you deal with is similar.
Well, it's not. I mean, once you've got the data, you can do anything with it. So, and it's fairly easy to do useful things with it. I remember on the NHS job, it was Scottish Government asked us to look at the data because they had a team of 150 people looking at data, and they could do this and do that. But within a few hours, we were able to create a Scotland-wide dashboard to show how much oxygen was used against each of the hospitals that had measurement at the time. It only took a few hours. Not 150 people looking at it.
Aye.
So, it's just getting the data up.
Are you doing much with AI yet?
A little bit. We've got some models being trained on water industry.
Yep.
So we've got like use cases like leakage. We've got water balancing. So like
Right.
water going into development bulk metering versus like say there's a block of flats in London. What's the bulk meter saying against all the individual residential meters?
Yep.
So we've got AI models being trained against identifying leaks,
Mhm.
identifying issues,
Yep.
identifying theft of water as well.
No.
So
All right.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
How about
So,
just people nicking water?
yeah. Like if you think about we've got about 18,000 meters in London on our data platform,
Right.
but in blocks of flats you've got like commercial units and ground floors and things.
Right.
So it's amazing that meters were reading and they're not anymore.
Right.
So bypasses or whatever.
I know, obviously, maybe electricity, but I wouldn't have thought folk would have been trying to nick water.
A bit
See.
good. In England, all your water's metered, so you pay for it.
All right, what,
Yeah, so
in
different-
residential as
yeah,
well?
yeah, different
Do you?
up here.
All
So
right.
hence we've got meters in residential houses and flats.
All right, didn't
So,
even know that.
Yeah. Which interestingly, I think Scottish Water's got a pilot in Dundee on 2,000 meters. So maybe
right.
it's coming up here as well.
Because all the Dundee folks steal water.
Yeah.
See, when you spend a lot of time in Aberdeen, there would be good jokes about that. I actually didn't know that. I knew it was different, but I didn't realise that.
England and Wales, I think. Scotland, we just pay through the rates.
Aye. The with regards to some of the kind of the industry sectors that you're working in, how are you seeing that evolution coming? Because we were seeing different from different sectors, and I was just wondering, because the way that we've always said is, see, kind of process data, like you've gone to any business and they'll have their kind of process diagram, right? So there's a boiler, there's a pump, there's a this, there's a that. So their kind of process optimization system, or whatever you want to call it. But what we do is completely alien to that. That's stuff that's never ever been on show. So we're trying to evolve people into thinking differently about how data can be taken and data can be managed. Do you get the same kind of evolution challenges, or because they already deal with process stuff, they're usually going, it's fine?
Yeah, I suppose similar. The process is up to people in the plant.
Mhm.
The instrumentation's helping control, automate. But for us, it's kind of workshops with customers about what's that data telling you.
Yeah.
So I was on a call this morning with one of the water companies down south that they're looking to give you, the flat owner, the house owner, access to the data. So
Mhm.
So the big use case there is we want you, the water company wants you to use less water.
Yep.
That's a target.
Mhm.
So how can we get an app developed from our data to give you hints and tips of to save water?
Yep.
What was your question, Jamie?
It was a bit. See, that's what happens. My good looks and charm picked you up, didn't they? So that's a good example of those kind of sectors. But see, I don't know, your what do you call it? Whiskey distilleries,
Yeah,
right? So obviously we're helping distilleries at the moment from what we do.
Yep.
So, but we're just at the very, very start of that, showing them how they can get access to this data and that data journey, that evolution.
Yep.
But do you see the same in distilleries with the process data?
Yeah, I mean, there's a big focus on energy costs, really,
Yep.
or from a net zero or from a sustainability point of view. So we're just getting more and more questions, or they're adding metering in to bits of plant that's not for control and automation. So
Yep.
we can then take that up to cloud.
Yep.
So we're seeing that distilleries, we're seeing that chemical plants down south. We've got a couple of breweries kicking around as well, looking at, but it's being driven by either a sustainability engineer or energy people.
Yep.
Even some of the, like we were talking about waste energy plants earlier.
Yep.
That type of thing. But it's anything that can be off system, away from control and automation, then we can get up to cloud. But it seems to be for me, it's more about proving what's happening in the process from a data point of view to then help them make decisions about what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
In that plant.
Yeah, it's back to the outcome,
Yeah.
the why. What you're getting all this data. Why do you need it, and what do you want to get from it?
Which is a bit like we get an inquiry for a flow meter. We need to be asking ourselves, why are they wanting a flow meter, and then go out and see them and talk to them about those reasons.
What is it you want to measure? Why do you want to measure it? What's the reason you're measuring it? No, just there you go. It's 10 litres a minute.
No, definitely. Yeah, because you know we're seeing loads and loads of massive increase in inquiries for people looking for like a higher of a flow meter without understanding what that really means. So
Right.
our engineers will be out doing a flow study for a week, for 2 weeks, for a month to give them that data.
Yeah.
Doesn't need to go to our cloud platform. It's just data they need.
Yeah.
A bit like one of the jobs we did for you guys
Uh-huh.
recently.
Yep.
You know, there's the flow rate. That's all they needed.
Aye.
The
Aye.
compressor or whatever.
Yeah. Again, it's back to they didn't know.
Yeah.
I mean, and,
Yeah.
and these are the things where you, from me, not obviously coming from that environment, I'm like that. Surely to God, you know that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
Surely you know that, but they're like,
Yeah,
no, we
no,
don't. I mean, we've got 7 compressors. They just send compressed air around about our whole process,
Yeah.
but we don't know what each line takes or whatever each thing. And you're going, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
I mean, I suppose, you know, maybe in the last few years there's been a massive drive, legislation or net zero sustainability.
Yep.
You know, I would say there's been a wee bit of dampening some of that recently, but
Yeah.
the energy costs of those same things is still a massive driver.
Yeah.
Because people need to get that down, so they need to know.
Yeah. We see it all the time. And this is same as a lot of these things that become a very, very quick kind of, right, okay, we need to focus on that. So sustainability is massive.
Yeah.
But then what you're then seeing is you're seeing a lot of fly-by-night people coming in
Yeah.
that are just trying to jump on that bandwagon. And we've seen it with like energy monitoring systems and different sensors and different this, and you're going, hold on a minute, you're just singing a song here that you actually don't believe in yourself, or you don't actually understand. Like we see it all, we were down at the exhibition we were at last week, and you've got all these sensor companies, right? And see, 2 years ago, then we've obviously been talking about sustainability as we started, right? 2 years ago, not one person was talking about any of this. Every single stand you're around at the sensor, we will help you with your energy efficiency, right? And obviously, being me, like, go like, how are you going to do that, right? And you're seeing their wee salespeople squirming, like, oh, because that's a lot of crap, mate.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah, yeah.
and you're getting that so much, but it's the same as any sector movement, any legislation movement. You've got people that jump on the bandwagon of it, and the worry I've got with this is that people embrace that and buy something.
Yeah, yeah.
It's no right.
Yeah, and then they lose, you know, they lose faith in what they're trying to do
Aye.
because it's not being sold correctly.
Aye. Because we've seen it with some of the kind of AI stuff within sensors, where you've got people who are really, really up for change and early adopters.
Yeah.
And they're going, right, okay, we see this coming, we want to get we've got to get moving and be a kind of thought leader in our space. They go and buy something, it doesn't do what it says in the tin, and then they're just put off with it. We've got one just now that it's probably took us about 3 years to get them back on the track of this is actually valuable when you look at the right thing for what you're trying to achieve. And your guys will be very similar, I would have thought, with some of the stuff that comes through yours.
There's loads of people that are just confusing the market a wee bit because they're like we get approached from data companies, whatever they are, but they're asking us, could you give us some data? Because we don't have any data. And you're like, oh, but you're a data company, you know. But they're also marketing themselves as a, you know, like instrumentation and data. They don't actually have any data. It's bonkers.
Aye. Well, we've seen it with, like some of the kind of big data companies that are out there in the kind of oil and gas industry and all that kind of stuff, and people have said to us, oh, are they your competitor? Are they a kind of threat to you? Some of these kind of big global names, like, no. I says, because they don't have access to the data we do. So we've got machine level data that none of these companies, one, can get a hold of, and two, probably understand. Because they're looking at kind of an oil platform, looking at optimization of an oil platform and all this kind of stuff, rather than when's that machine going to break or what's going to happen in it.
You've got people that are, I'm sure, know data pretty well and know how to analyze data, but they might not know vibration, they might not know instrumentation. So, you know, at the heart of what we're trying to do is we've got instrumentation experts on applications, but what we've been learning in the last 4 or 5 years is how to get all the different technologies up to cloud. So when a customer comes and says we need water, steam, gas, you know, we need pressure there, temperature there, and it's all different technology. We want to utilize that one we've got, we want new there, we want it all up in the dashboard. And like, yeah, okay.
I want to see. We just want to see it all in the one place.
Yeah.
Right. Aye. And that's how our journey started. Was we went to a client and said they needed 5 different products, all communicated differently. Some was
Yeah.
some was processed data, some was raw data, blah blah blah. And we said, "Oh, will you be able to get that through your IT infrastructure?" Pff, absolutely no chance.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
you're then taking that problem away.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
No,
recently we've seen, I suppose, a wee bit of movement. Like some of the big gas networks and some other big companies are coming out with big tenders
hmm
for this stuff, and it's the big boys that are bidding. But I think companies like ourselves and Ailsa have got something to offer,
yeah,
because the big guys are only going in for their protocol, their bits of kit,
yeah.
not something that's agnostic.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And one of the things, so when we were looking at our KTP,
Yeah,
as a prime example, what you're saying there about you've got instrumentation guys that are now doing it. It's easier to teach an engineer that knows what they're doing how to manage data than it is to teach a data scientist engineering.
yeah,
And that was the thing that we had when we were looking for our KTP. The unicorn was somebody that can do it all. But realistically, there's not that many people out there that can do it all. And what we'd said is we would rather take the engineer and teach them the data science,
mm.
because then they understand the data. They're just now looking at how they manage it and analyze it differently.
No, absolutely. I mean, a couple of we've had involved with the KTP, we were able to pull in a guy who was an ex-instrument engineer who had retrained in computer science. And
Yep.
that resource was that is a unicorn.
Oh, aye, aye.
And we've one of the guys in the team is ex-automation engineer that has come in with the same sort of degree
Aye.
background, which is just phenomenal.
Oh,
you know.
I've met these guys and they are unicorns.
Yeah,
That's what I
yeah,
said. Remember, I said, "Oh, I'd take 2 of you tomorrow." But and we've obviously been fortunate with Matthew that we've got. Obviously, Matthew knew us, knew our values, knew all that kind of stuff. Obviously, an engineer in the condition monitoring background, but he's now built a complete knowledge based AI system.
yeah, yeah.
See if we'd have turned around and said to him 18 months ago, by the way, see in a year and a half, you'll be. He's not. I'm going to say he's an expert in AI, right? Because I don't think anybody's yet experts in AI, but he's definitely shown thought leadership and been able to predict failures in electromechanical equipment.
Yeah.
And I don't think he would have seen himself there. So it's amazing when you surround yourself with the right kind of people, what you can actually get out of it.
Yeah, yeah.
But
And also getting the a bit of faith from some customers to go and trial and do things. We've made a number of mistakes that we think go back to the London example. You think there'd be 4G communication, 5G communication in the heart of London, and then you realise the site's next to the US embassy and there's nothing.
aye,
So
aye.
you try to get 1,000 flats up to cloud.
Aye.
It's a nightmare.
but we've not really been kind of at the beginning. We had been keeping a log of all the things that were going. Oh, you didn't realise you couldn't do that. Didn't realise you right. Well, me and Kane have got it in our heads. But see if we had done the same and went. There's so many things that you think would just be okay and would be able to be fine, and you wouldn't have an issue with it.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, you're right. It's no.
No, exactly. And I mean, and the other thing is just keeping eyes open to see what other people are doing, and having to spend time yourselves creating solutions when there are solutions out there that we found a German company's got a little box of tricks that can convert lots of different comms and protocols into one.
Aye.
It's like phenomenal.
Aye.
For certain sites.
Yeah, and but this is we've said all along. We're trying to we partner with people looking at. Well, we don't have our own products as such apart from the software, but we're just looking to help get the best products available, and then we just manage the data.
Yeah, no,
Right.
absolutely.
Because we don't. You're right when you're saying there's always people out there that are bringing out some new, real clever bits of kit, and then you're just saying, is that something that we can embed into a bigger solution?
Yeah, it's 60 years we are route to market for large manufacturers. So to have less reliance on that, we've then looked to build a service team who can do calibrations, verifications, on-site support, but can also install data systems. And then you've got a software team now that we're charging for data. So
Aye.
we're less reliant on that one business model, if you like.
Yeah. No. And for me, that was because when you think about a business that's been going for the length that you guys have been going, and where your business probably was before 2019, it's chalk and cheese. Because it was kind of more distribution and basically a kind of distributor stroke partner for a product lines.
Very, very technical, Jamie.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Engineering based.
Engineering based.
Not sort of admin distributor, but it's like massive. I mean, we've got a huge customer base in Aberdeen, so
Yep.
oil and gas is up and down, as
Yep.
you know. You've got a distillery market in Scotland, but process industry in Scotland's not enormous.
Yep.
Hence why we acquired Stream, which gives us a breakthrough into utility networks and gas and water.
So what's the product line for Stream? What is it there?
Streams, I mean, similar. They were very much flow. They started in 1999. Flow measurement experts, so gas turbine rotary diaphragm meters. So working with National Grid or National Gas. They've got some water products as well, and they've got their own little batching flow meter called Unipulse, which is food and bev market.
Right.
Very good little product, but it doesn't sell a lot.
Yep.
They've got a big customer base, but they're sort of maybe more of a lifestyle business back in the day. We'll probably double turnover this year.
Brilliant.
And keep that growth going. But really, what you've got is Stream and JWF. We've got an integrated team now.
Yes.
So, and we're just going we're UK wide.
How obviously this is probably no helping anybody else, but it might help me. How was that integration process? Because that's something that we're potentially looking at doing at the moment.
Well, I mean, the strategic process was buy them in October 19, then
Right.
COVID kicks in, and a certain Miss Sturgeon didn't allow us to get across the border for a bit, So it was a bit of a nightmare.
Aye.
It's been slow. One of the things we're just about to do actually is a brand new ERP system into the whole business, and that brings us all into one system. But we've had to make a few changes. We've done a lot of investment down the Stream, but we're slowly getting there. But it's hugely positive for us as a Scottish-based business.
Brilliant. No, it's amazing, and as you say, the potential. And this is where obviously I've obviously worked all across the UK, and the potential that you've got in Scotland is the equivalent of a wee belt across the centre of England, right? When you look at customer base and number of people and all that kind of stuff. So the opportunity down there is a lot bigger than it is up here. It's just trying to capture that part of the market, because we are really Ayrshire, across the central belt, and then up the left. The rest is just all mountains and stuff. So it's there must be huge opportunities down there.
No, definitely, and we're growing both the teams at the moment. But the sort of service teams UK wide, the software teams based in Glasgow, but it's serving the Stream customers as well. So, it's a nice proposition for customers.
Right. And on your ERP system, that's when you get your first shout out on this show.
Oh, that's right.
When Andy was on. So what we'll do is we'll give Andy a wee shout just now for Odoo, right? Or Calibrate, but he represents Odoo, and see if we can both get a discount, right? A rebate. Andy, right? So there you go. That's you. You've been on the show twice. Your name's been mentioned twice. So Robert and I would like a wee rebate based on the publicity we're giving you.
Yeah, I'll put on record. We go live on the 1st of August.
Is it?
This year,
Right.
It's just for Andy Scott.
Right, okay. Andy Scott live 1st of August. Right, the whole world's watching, Well, we're actually, so Kelsey and that they're kind of doing their onboarding stuff for us just now. Okay. We're going to kind of try and run the two systems parallel for a wee bit, and then the goal is we have our financial year ends at the end of September, so 1st of October will be the switch over date.
I mean, it's a big step for us, because both the systems in the companies have been around for a lot of years, but based around selling a product. Not supporting the product life cycle and not doing data subscriptions. So Odoo gives us that chance to stitch the whole thing together.
Yeah, we're similar, because obviously we're kind of into business streams, potential different businesses. It means that we can just do it all at the one time. We're a big believer in, see, when you're going to change, just change it all together, right? So you're only going through that big painful exercise once, hopefully. And then the next time you're changing, you'll be hopefully other things that are evolving at the same time, and just go for it.
We did a wee bit of research in terms of companies using Odoo for the last few years, and seen a lot of growth just because they were able to stitch the whole thing.
Well, I just went for it because you said it was good, right? so you've got all the companies to blame. I'm just blaming you. But it does. It looks like it's the answer. I see. We did a bit of kind of due diligence on some of the other systems like Office 365 Dynamics and all this kind of stuff. So it was either far too big and clunky and too cumbersome, or it was too small and it didn't do enough. And I think where this sits is it sits right in the middle where it does everything you need. It's maybe not the best at everything, but because it's all together, then it just adds that bit of value, but it all been in one system.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. So the back onto the kind of dashboards and where you're going with all that. So where do you see the future of JWF?
So for us, I mean, we've got quite a clear business model now that we've got 7 steps. So steps 1 and 2 is all about product. 2 is about refurb of products. So it's
Alright.
we do product refurb. I think the buzz term that you would use is circular economy. and all
Correct.
that, Jamie.
That's it. Circular economy.
So 3, 4, and 5's all about that life cycle of product. So make sure it's commissioned and installed properly on site. We'll then calibrate, verify those meters, those transmitters ongoing for its life cycle. And we do flow surveys as well as part of that. So part of the data, step 1 is flow survey.
Yep.
We're doing a lot more with pressure, so leakage.
Aye.
In systems, again, the driver there is data.
Mhm.
And then number 6 is where we're at, so visualization with the data that we've got. And then number 7 is that data analysis. So you think about the amount of data that we've now got
Aye.
across a lot of different sectors, it's working out what that value is.
Aye.
And bringing the first of the AI tools into the business and really driving that. I mean, we're still pretty early days. Although we've been at it for 5, 6 years, as I said, we've made a few mistakes and we're just growing pains with it. But
Yeah.
the conversations we're at now, we seem to be at a more senior level within customers.
Yeah.
And that stands us in good stead. But one of the things we've chatted about before as well is how do you price data?
Aye.
How do you price it?
What is the
You see
value?
that you put a margin on a product, it's easy.
Aye.
A daily rate for a service guy, it's easy. But how do you charge for the data bit when
Correct.
that's what they're after?
Yep, I know.
So we've got a couple of projects where we've priced projects on just a monthly fee for 6 months, but it's a tricky thing.
It is a tricky thing, and how do you then price it as that data scales as well? Because that's where we've got just now. We've got some products and stuff like that out there, and we're now taking the data, but that's fine. But what happens when it goes from 10 machines to 1,000 machines? How do you price that? There can't be the same scaling factor. The effort that's involved in doing the analytics and blah 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 on this small scale, you can't have that same. It's a tough one.
And in addition to that, with Odoo coming in, it allows us just to do a wee bit of structure change in terms of just adding value to it. We've got a phenomenal team now, and I just think that it's project people in the business to take some of the pressure away from the sales guys. We need to add to sales. We need to add to our engineering team. We need to add to service team. We need to add to software. So we're looking to go through another spurt of growth.
Aye, no, that's great, and it's just to try to find the talent. No, at the minute, I think we're all in the same boat. Doesn't matter what sector you're working in, getting the talent's tough.
Yeah.
And
what we are, I mean, whether it was planned or not, but because we've got the 2 locations, Manchester and Glasgow, it allows us, with the new system, it allows us to recruit into Manchester or Glasgow.
Easier.
It could be slightly easier down the road.
Nah, but I don't know what the competitive landscape's like down there, but I know how much obviously we're always looking for people. Our kind of recruitment strategies ended up being, I think you'll fit well. Right, and you're meeting people that you think will fit your business, and then you're creating the jobs for them. But we're now back in the stage where we're looking for technicians and stuff like that, and it's tough. It's tough, especially get people that have got the attitude that you want. Because I reckon there's hundreds of electrical techs out there, but ones that actually want to get to the bottom of why something's breaking, not just ticking the box and fixing it. Is a challenge.
Just that customer orientation as well, thinking what's right.
Aye,
especially if they're on site.
100%, because in the day they are your brand, and they are your salespeople.
Yeah, definitely.
Because if they do a good job, then they end up with a better relationship with the customer than any of us ever do.
Definitely.
Good. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, thanks for the chat.
No problem. It's been good. It's been really good.
Need to do a bit more work together now.
Yes, sounds like a plan. We've got Kane there. He can make all that happen because I'm the talker. He's the brains, as we keep telling everybody. So we will, because I think there's definitely there is a market for collaboration like this.
Yeah.
And it's just us trying to get more than 5 minutes to sit down and actually look at how you can strategically approach it.
And I think the big thing is, tenders are starting to pop up now, so joining forces is a good thing.
Yeah, 100% agree. All right, well, thank you very much for coming. You enjoy your cake. Are you going to give your missus one? Because I'm going to tell her now in case she's watching this.
I think I better.
Right, okay, so Robert's a good lady. You've got a cake as well. He was going to eat it, but I talked him into keeping it for me. Right, so thank you for coming in, and we'll leave it at that. Bye, everybody. And by the way, I'm not just wearing shorts. I'm actually going to play golf, so it's not that I usually cut about like this. So I'm usually a bit more professionally dressed.
You're really busy. You're away playing golf.
Aye, I know. Aye.
I'm going back to the office.
Aye. So you're away with your cake. If you can go back to the office and do a full afternoon's work after eating all that cake, I'll be really, really impressed. Because I usually eat half of my cake, and then I'm away back home for a wee cat nap before I start my afternoon. Before I start the back shift. Right, okay, thanks very much, Robert.
No
right, thank you anybody who's still watching this. If you're watching it back, thank you very much, and see you later.